Hey, it's Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and it is Monday. It's July 17th. This will be our chart lesson for today. And prices did push higher again today. They sold off from the highs, but they did push higher. We started out once again in a range. We broke out. We had a couple of different targets. One would be the width of the range, the other would be a measured move, and we really pushed past both of those. So it wasn't a really high volume day at all. The volume is low, the volatility is low, but it was all uphill. So this thing continues to go uphill. Once again, we closed. It looks like inside we didn't quite get into the over. We pushed into the overbought territory, but by the end of the day, we sold off the last couple of times. So we may be getting close to topping out here. As long as it keeps going higher, though, just keep going with it. Once again, there's not a lot of trades today. Um, just the way the price action set up. Let's flip over there and take a look at the 2,000 tick chart, and we'll go from there. But let's flip over. And here it is. What we have, we've kind of spiked up and then went into this channel. It's a pretty consistent channel, but it's still a lot of sideways. We shoot up and then we kind of work sideways. We shoot up and then we got way overdone here, in my opinion. You can pull this. Oops, didn't mean to do that. You can pull this up, and maybe that's not an overshoot because it does still fit. But early on, I was playing it like so, and then of course I adjusted to here, and that seems to fit really well until that overshoot. But you can pull it up there, and it still seems to fit fairly well. So I don't think you can argue, no matter how you saw that. I don't guess it really matters. I played it like so. If you didn't matter if you pulled it up here. I treated it like an overshoot, and it acted like an overshoot because we just turned down and kept going. You never got a retest, a break, and a retest or anything like that. So it's hard to say. The two targets I had, one was the width of this, which would be this dash line, and the other would be based on a leg up. And you can see we found a good bit of resistance there before we did push and go higher. Not a lot of trades today. It's just kind of just the way the price action set up. So if you had a hard time, once again, we had a few late. It's starting late morning. We had a few trades, and that was it into the close. There's just not a lot of volume here. Oops, didn't mean to do that. There's just not a lot of volume here really at all. The volume has dropped a lot, and the volatility's definitely dropped. So, and it's not unusual for this time of year, so it doesn't surprise me completely. But let's zoom in. We had a news item, this manufacturing, Empire State Manufacturing Index, which is, it revolves around the economy, so you want to be careful. So you really couldn't trade till after 7:30 today. I think it was pretty safe to start trading in here. You might have looked at this as a reversal. It did close above the high here, but it's right into the midline, and we just turned down twice at the midline, so it's kind of risky. You really probably want to see it bounce off the midline, and we don't get any setups there. Runs up and it goes higher, and then we just work our way back in, and then we're just kind of stuck along here. This one's tempting. You could argue that's a triple test, but there's a little resistance there, and you see it took a little while to push through. So I like treating this as a failure here. Notice this is a double bottom, so you get a first entry, second entry. Let me zoom in a little bit. So that's a failed second entry short. It was when it broke above this bar here. It looks a little congested. I still mark this blue because we tried so hard to go lower, and now we're making two lower highs in a row. I like going long there. There's plenty of room back up here to the last high, so I think that's going to be your judge, and that's the spot you're going to be most concerned about. And this thing just keeps going. We do get a break, a new high, and then we just start chopping sideways. And you really don't get a chance to do much here. There is a first entry here. It's not quite a triple test, so I don't think you want to take that. And you do get a triple test down here. You get one right here, but it's right into the midline. I don't know if it works. I didn't even test it. It's just right in the midline. I wouldn't take it. I mean, it's only 4 ticks, so you would have got burned on that because it comes back and gets that 1 tick and then goes higher. So yeah, we tried a couple of different times to go higher there, so that's really risky in my opinion. You want to see it going back and forth from highs to lows, and it's just not doing it there. We tried to go higher, a couple of times in there, and we're failing to go through there. So it makes this one that closes right into it more risky. Um, if you took that one, you would have got burned. Same thing, you do get a lower high here, but again, look at, we're right in the midline now. It's holding on the upside, so you got to be careful going short. Again, I don't know if it works or not. I just wouldn't take it. Yeah, you see it's 5 ticks, so again, you wouldn't have, and you need 6 ticks to get out. But then if you just wait a minute, then you get a double test inside here, and it's also a second entry short. Even though we don't look for second entries in a range, if you get one, pay attention to it. And that's a nice signal bar, very bearish. It's only 4 ticks, very low risk. I like that one. And of course, it bounces higher and takes off again. So um, this is a failure here, but it doesn't really set up right. It's too far away from the EMA. Too congested. All this is too congested. This one is tempting, but it's an inside bar. It would have worked. It's a failure out of this little congestion area here. We just came off the highs, so it's risky to go long there anyway. But on a breakout, you can assume it's probably going to go back in and probably test the high again. But I just don't like that inside bar. If that would have made it equal low or a lower low, I'd say take that trade. And then we just work back to the other side. I wouldn't take a short in this. There is a failure here, but I wouldn't take a short in that. I'd wait and for prices to come back to the trend line. Of course, we bounce here. It looks like we get a little bit of a close outside. I mean, I piddled with this thing. I think this is the best fit here. It's just not a convincing close. You want a convincing close outside, and that doesn't look like one to me. So regardless, even if it is a close outside, if you get a chance to go long, I'm still going to take it. And of course, we get a higher low right here above the EMA. I like taking that. And of course, we find more resistance right at that measured move there. We're just kind of chopping along. Unfortunately, you don't really get a short here. If this would have been an engulfing bar, maybe you go short below it, but it's still really congested there. It just remains congested. Comes back to the trend line. I'm a little weary of going long there. It's a first entry, second entry, third entry. It is right off the key entry point again, so it makes it very tempting, but I think you probably need a higher low or something, and you do get a higher low right here. I like going long there. And then you get a first entry, second entry right here, a nice signal bar. There's not a lot of room to scalp out, but you're still making higher lows here every time. With that 2 legs back, I like that one just to go. It's starting to look like a pretty strong trend here. So this one is close. You could argue for it to be green or blue, but I like it. I marked it blue. Runs up, comes back, makes a new low, and then gives you a higher low right here on the second entry. Notice first entry pulls back. When it breaks above there, it's a second entry right off the EMA. Nice signal bar. I like going long. And if you catch that one, that's a pretty good move. You might catch a runner there. I think that there's enough room here that you would have been scalped out. Yeah, most likely you'd have been out. So you could have got stopped out on that depending on how you played your stop. But it takes on off. I think this was an overshoot. Doesn't matter how you played it. It's still... It could have been the upper trend channel line, and it just turns down off of that. And I don't see any short there. There's a failure here, but it doesn't set up properly, and that takes you into 230. And so there's not much else. There is a second entry right here, and this did break higher and turn down. I'm fairly certain that one did that way. I got one wrong the other day. Somebody wrote me back and said that it didn't break higher first, and sometimes I get them mixed up, but. And I wasn't watching this one, but it looks like it probably broke higher and turned down. If it did, maybe you take that second entry short. It's right at 230, but I mean it's 230.49. So I mean you could, if you get a good setup, right? You know, a bar into 230. There's nothing wrong with taking that. You still got plenty of time there. Um, and there's nothing wrong with managing a trade well past 230. So you might take that trade right there. It's a second entry short, and you can argue this is a double top, so a first entry, second entry, so a failure and a second entry short both on an engulfing bar. I like that trade. But there it is. Not many green ones, not many red or blue ones today. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There's 7 trades there. So if you can sit here all day, you should have been able to find you a couple of trades. And if you're a morning trader, oh gosh, it was weak. I mean, we've seen that. You know, generally the morning is the best time to trade, but lately it seems like we don't start getting any movement to the afternoon. But the market's going to do that. It's going to throw you curveballs. Just by the time you get used to how it reacts every day, it'll change up on you. And so that throws a whole new. People will get to rolling and get to doing really well with the market, and then all of a sudden it changes on them. And so you gotta see all the faces the market can give you over the years, and you got to get used to it changing like that. So don't let it throw you off. Don't get lulled to sleep, as I like to call it. It's easy to get lulled to sleep in this market because it'll do the same thing every day, day after day after day for a week or two, and then boom, it changes. And it'll look like it's doing, on the day it changes, it'll look like it's doing the exact same thing. Let's say we get range days every day, and then suddenly it'll pull back. Let's just say an example here. This is just make believe out of my mind. Let's say every day it starts out with a range like this, and it breaks out, and it finds some, it fails, it turns and goes, and it starts selling off. Well, you get used to that, so you start looking for a short in here. Next thing you know, you get short, and then it's rocketing up, and you're just hanging on, saying, well, it goes short every day, and then suddenly it doesn't. It goes higher. Now again, I just made that up, but that's the kind of thing what I'm talking about. Don't let the market lull you to sleep because it does the same thing every day for 2 or 3 weeks or a month or several months for that matter. It can do it for a year or several years and then suddenly change again. So just don't let the market lull you to sleep and get trapped on the wrong side and hold on. Especially don't hold on. If you're wrong, take your hit and move on. Live to trade another day. But so many people will try to hang on and say, "Oh, I know it'll come back. I'm gonna have to give up take a little risk here and a little drawdown, but it'll come back." And a lot of times it will. And you'll reinforce a bad habit, and the next thing you know, it doesn't come back, and you wipe out a whole account in one day. That happens more to people than anything. I hear that story more than anything. So don't fall into that trap because it will come back to haunt you. Live to trade another day. You can always come. Excuse me. You can always come back from a loss or two. But if you blow an account or take a huge loss, it makes it really, really hard. So don't do that to yourself. Have that discipline. When you know you're wrong, just take your hit and live to trade another day. So anyway, short and sweet today. It's just a little spiking channel up. Not a lot of volume. Not a lot of volatility. This is a fairly strong trend here after about 10:30 or so. Really from about here, 11:20, 11:30, it really was fairly strong all the way up into almost the close. So, and we got this overshoot. But we did sell off fairly strongly from there too. So, well, and notice we closed right back around where the measured move was. So I think this was all just overdone here. This market just keeps going higher, so people just keep buying it. And I don't blame them. You cannot argue with the market. No matter how much you think the market should be going lower, if it's going higher, go with it. And vice versa. No matter how much you think the market should be going up, if it's going lower, just go with it. That's how we make money. We don't make money arguing with the market. The market's never wrong. We're the ones that are wrong and make mistakes. So keep that in mind. Anyway, I'm going to wrap it up. We'll be back again to do it tomorrow. I'm done for today. This is Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and we'll see you next time.